Coming up on The Returned.
Of this line of monks, and the one on the end stepped forward and said, "You cannot stay, it is not your time." And I thought, how can you send me back when I have just arrived at the place I've always wanted to be in? I felt like I was home for the first time in my life. I felt like I was home to myself, home to what matters. I felt loved and cherished in a way I had never experienced in my life.
Hi, and welcome to The Returned. Here's to everything we'll discover together. Hi, and welcome to The Returned, where we dive deep into near-death experiences, spiritual awakenings, and the mysteries that shape our lives. Here we open our minds, expand our hearts, and explore what it truly means to return to ourselves, to each other, and to the truth beyond. Today, I am truly honored to share space with Diane Sherman, whose profound journey beyond this life has transformed not only her own perspective, but also the lives of those she touches through her healing work and spiritual guidance. Diane, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, MJ, thank you so much for asking me to be here. I love this, and it's wonderful to get to know you and the amazing work that you're now doing.
Thank you very much. Diane, how would you feel about going back a little for the audience and letting them know a little bit about you before um, your profound near-death experience?
I'd be glad to.
Thank you.
I was sort of at a crossroads before my near-death experience. I had a 6-year-old daughter, and I was divorced, which I had never thought I would be. Growing up Catholic, I thought I would be married forever. And I was just And I had been working as a model for 17 years, and I knew it was time for that to stop. And I didn't know where I was going and what I was going to do. And my sense of well-being within myself was not in a good place. And having gone through the divorce, um, it sort of took my belief in myself away. I felt like a failure. And so I was having trouble connecting with life and understanding what is the next step for me? Where am I headed now? I just felt a great deal of responsibility with my daughter and, to make up to her that she no longer had a complete family, even though her dad was very much a part of her life. It was a trying time for me. And many years before, I had had an accident swimming in Mexico, and sounds probably ridiculous, but I dislocated my knee when I was trying to get out of the water. I was climbing up the beach, and a wave hit me from behind and pulled me around, but the foot stayed locked in, and it just, tore everything. And I went back into the water. It pulled me back into the water, and I was literally drowning. And luckily, my ex-husband was a water polo player growing up in Italy, so he was a very strong swimmer, and he, kind of scooped me up and got me back up on the shore. And our friends who we were staying with took me to their chiropractor, and their chiropractor didn't speak English, and my Spanish was just minimal. And so we weren't communicating, but he motioned to me to lay down on this. It was like a day bed, but it had uh, iron rungs around the side and the head of it. And he said, just, lay back and hold on, kind of thing, which I did. And he took my foot and ankle and went like that to pop my knee back into place. And that did so much more damage. So by the time I got off the plane, I had a blood clot and chipped bone fragments and a whole bunch of stuff going on besides a dislocated knee. But at that time, they would have had to have done the major patella surgery, which would have been a very big scar in the front of my knee, and I couldn't do that with work. So I waited until arthroscopy had been perfected. And so here we are 10 years later. And I went into the hospital to have the surgery. And a few days before that, I had been to church, pardon me, praying to God, saying, help me figure this out. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm lost. And at that time, both my parents were gone. Um, my sister was still alive, and we shared a duplex together, and we were part of the family business at that moment in time, but it wasn't something that would be my future. It wasn't something that would support me to stay. So I'm sitting on the gurney and I'm cold, and the nurse came up to me. She could see I was shaking, and she said, "Would you like a warmed blanket?" And I said, "I'd love that, please." Yes. And she brought me that, and that seemed to calm things down a little bit. And we went into the surgical suite, and I got on the table, and they put another blanket on me, and I went out, and I hadn't had my anesthesia yet, which is sort of odd because you're always nervous before surgery. Maybe it was a foretelling for me, I don't know. But I woke up in recovery, and I hear them talking to this person. I hear the commotion of something going on in the bed next to me, and I didn't want to pay attention because I was focused in my own experience and feeling groggy and kind of overwhelmed. And I hear them calling this woman by my name. And I thought, oh my God, they've gotten the wrong person, done the wrong surgery. What the heck is happening? So I'm waving frantically, saying, hello, that's me, and I'm here. Hello. And they're not paying attention to me. And I'm thinking, okay, they're busy trying to save this person's life. When things calm down, I'll get a nurse's attention or something, and we'll figure this out. So I kind of settled back into myself. And the next thing I knew, I was standing at the bottom of her bed, looking up at her, and it was me. And there was no sense of panic or worry or even connection to the me in the bed. I recognized me, but it was like I had no party in whatever was going on with that version of me. And I just sort of stood there for a few minutes watching three people working on her. And it was so neutral for me, which was surprising. And I remember looking down at myself. I'm standing there and I'm looking down, and I can see my physicality. I can see what I'm wearing, the hospital gown and whatnot, bare feet. And I'm looking up at her, but I'm not worried in any way. I'm not concerned. It's almost like I don't care. It's not mine to worry about or be invested in. Next thing I knew, I'm in the corner of the ceiling, looking down over what they're doing. And I'm interested, but I'm not interested. There's no emotional connection for me whatsoever to what is happening there, because I still feel like me, the me that's up in the corner. And I didn't think, wow, how did I get in the corner? How am I up here? What am I doing? There was none of that. It was so normal in a way. It all felt so normal, and I was blasé. I haven't used that word in a long time. I felt very blasé about the whole thing, which in retrospect is like, how could you feel blasé about something like that? That's, amazing and incredible and outrageous. But I didn't have any of those feelings. And the next thing I knew, I was being ejected out of that corner of the ceiling. And now I'm going into blackness, like you and I had talked about, going into the blackness. And as a kid, I was terrified of the dark. It was the thing that scared me the most, was being in the dark, because there was a lot of trauma in my home, and you never knew what was coming at you in the dark. How do you protect yourself if you're in the dark? So I thought, well, if I can just find a glimmer of light, I know I will be able to be okay, because first of all, I'll know I'm not blind. and that there's something here besides the blackness, and I'll just focus on it. And I did that, and I saw one little tiny glimmer of light, and I sort of glommed onto it, and I never let go of looking at it so it could be connected to me in some way. And as I'm watching and watching and watching, it's growing, and now it's everywhere around me. And it's it's almost cloud-like, and it's almost diaphanous, and it's almost all the colors of the rainbow in the white of it. And it's a color of white, and I studied color therapy at one point. There was no conception of what this white was for me. I'd never seen anything like this or felt anything like this. And it was shimmering, and it was loving, and it encompassed everything that was beautiful and uplifting and safe. And so I just stayed in this moment of it. And as I'm doing that, I'm now moving forward, and I'm floating, and I'm aware that I'm floating. And I remember looking down, and I'm like that far off the ground, and I'm thinking, well, that's interesting, but there was no panic. It was just like, well, that's interesting. Okay. And I'm floating, and the white started to separate as I'm going through it. And at the end, there are 2 rows of monks in brown monks' robes with the hoods up. And I reached the end of this line of monks, and the one on the end stepped forward and said, "You cannot stay. It is not your time." And I thought, how can you send me back when I have just arrived at the place I've always wanted to be in? I felt like I was home for the first time in my life. I felt like I was home to myself, home to what matters. I felt loved and cherished in a way I had never experienced in my life, even being married and having a child. I was so overwhelmed by the enormity of the feelings of all of this. It was so yummy. It was just yummy. And I didn't want to ever leave. And he kept saying, "It's not your time. You must go back. You have a child." And I'm thinking to myself, I do have a child, and I love her with all my heart, and I would give up my life for her, but not here. I don't want to leave here.
Right.
But I started to think, who's going to take care of her if I stay? My parents are both gone. Not that they would have been a good thing for her. My sister was emotionally and mentally not in a safe place for my daughter. My ex-husband was my ex-husband for a reason. And I really didn't have close enough friends at that time to say, I entrust my child to you. And in that moment of that awareness, I'm back in my body. And the next thing I knew is I'm in, my hospital bed, and there's another person with me, a woman, and I'm hearing her. She's just moaning. She's in so much pain. And I'm not in any. And I had far much more work than she did, because they didn't know how bad my knee was till they got in. Because in 1981, they didn't have MRIs and all the things that they have now. So I was on the table a lot longer than I was supposed to have been. And at that time I was, working. I was at my model weight. So I was 5'9" and 116 pounds, and I was pretty much of a lightweight. And it was too much medication for my body. So I think that's why I flatlined. Or maybe it was just I was looking for an excuse to get out because I was overwhelmed with life. I don't know. I won't know till I'm back on the other side.
You don't think you have an inkling, like in knowing or an intuition of what you like, that you knew you wanted to be there,
Oh,
right?
yes. Well, I
And
knew I
so,
needed to be there. I knew I needed to have, that cosmic 2x4 to straighten my thinking out, because I was the consummate victim.
There
And
you
you
go.
can't create from that place. You can't have a
Right.
life from that place. But I had been victimized a tremendous amount in my life.
Mhm.
And I didn't know another way. And my family's mentality was very much like that. You know,
Mm.
there's
You
no
know,
self-empowerment.
yeah, that's really sad to hear. When we were talking before, recording, you asked me about the near deaths and basically what I told you was that I have seen a pattern and a pattern which I mean, I'm not saying that this is true for everybody, but I'm just noticing a pattern of near death experience survivors have had quite a bit of trauma in their background.
It's
And
not
that's
surprising to
something
me.
it's not. But I'm like, okay, so from somebody that was a seeker prior to this, um, I didn't notice that before. And now
Mm.
that I'm on this side, I'm noticing that we carry a lot of trauma. Do you think that, or maybe could you think that maybe we pre-planned our wake-up call, basically
Oh, well, that's a lovely
AKA
thought.
NDE?
I think it's a possibility that it was in
Hmm.
our birth plan. I do.
You know,
Um, and here's the part that I hadn't thought about with that is maybe we were willing to go through all the crap that we went through, knowing that we would get to have a near-death experience, which would shift and change things. And it was
oh,
almost
I
like
like
our
that.
entree to a
Hmm.
new life.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then so after you recovered, how was life for you then?
Well, the first time I went out with my sister, we went out to dinner and I was still on crutches. Um, and we went to a restaurant we'd been to many times before, very comfortable, new people at the restaurant and whatnot. And I'm standing there, we're waiting for our table, and all of a sudden there's this cacophony of sound coming at me. I'm hearing everybody's thoughts, I'm feeling their feelings. It's like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. What the heck is happening to me? And I had
Wow.
no concept. I used to say I thought I was becoming psychotic because that was my reference point, but it was more schizophrenic because I'm hearing all these voices. And who do I go to talk about that? I wouldn't tell my sister. No, she wasn't well balanced. There was mental illness in my family, and I thought, okay, maybe now it's me. And I couldn't tell the priest that I'm hearing
Oh
voices
gosh, no.
and
Mhm.
information, and I couldn't tell the doctor because they would want to put me on a 72-hour hold. It was devastating. I didn't know what was occurring because I had no awareness of near death. It was 1981. There was no internet, I had no way of knowing this information.
Hmm.
And it was kind of like the old expression of my cross to bear. And
Right.
I just, it made me go within in a big way and try to understand something. And I remember my daughter um, had asthma, and she was 7 at the time, and we were watching TV because she was home from school because of she'd had a bad asthma bout. And I don't remember the name of the TV show, but Shirley MacLaine was a guest on this TV show. And she was talking about Out on a Ledge or Out on a Limb, her new book. And
Hmm.
she was talking about all things spiritual and near death and whatnot. And I'm going, oh my
Hmm.
God, that's it.
That's when it
That was
clued
the first
in.
time I had a major clue of what was going on. And from
How
there,
much
I was
time
led.
after?
I wish
Sorry
I
to
knew. I
interrupt you.
don't know. It's okay. That's
Hmm.
a long time ago, 40 years ago.
Hmm. Wow.
So I don't know. It's 44 years ago. I don't remember
That's okay.
sequence
That's
of
okay.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also found a woman who was doing facials and different things, for the skin and whatnot, who I'd read about in the paper, who was in my neighborhood. And I thought, I think I'll try her. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
big on facials. That's not something I had done a lot of in my life, but I went to her and she had a knowing about my face and was telling me different things about the emotions going on. And she's reading me, and I'd never had anybody read me. And I thought, wow. So we started talking, and she was the one that led me to other people who helped me figure out what had happened and what to do with it, how to meditate and, have a spiritual journey.
So interesting.
Well, spirit
So
always gets
interesting.
us to the right people, if we're open
Um,
to,
100%, 100%. It's not on our timing. It's on
no,
their timing. One thing
yeah,
I'd like to do is just circle back for a minute.
sure.
You did describe, did a really great job of describing when you were in the hospital, foot of the bed, up in the corner, no feeling, no fear, no anxiety, no nothing. Isn't that something though? You know,
Yes. And
you're
and
out
it's
there and you're looking
also,
down
yeah.
and you're like, I know, like that's you, but why wouldn't like it's weird that we wouldn't have that anxiety, but I'm happy at the same time.
Well,
Like,
I think they do. It's like, why did I have the monks?
well,
The
that's what I was
monks,
getting to too.
that's
Next,
analogous to
yeah.
my world because being raised Catholic in California, as a kid in
Hmm.
grammar school, I went to lots of missions, and the missions are all run by monks, and they were the safest, nicest part of the religion for me because priests were kind of scary and off-putting and whatnot.
Hmm.
And so I think they set it up so that it makes sense for you, you
I
know?
think
And
so.
I mean, and when the monk that stood out first, when he spoke to me, there was no face. They didn't have faces. It was like energy, like atoms
Yeah.
moving, in that black space of the hood.
Interesting.
But it felt normal. And when he was speaking to me, he was speaking inside of me, and I was speaking inside of him, and that felt normal. It wasn't something that I hadn't experienced before. Everything on the other side felt normal, much more so than here.
So that's the reason that you wanted to stay.
Yeah. It was
Hmm.
home. I
Yeah.
came home. I've never felt at home here.
Hmm.
I've always been anxious here. I had two
Mm.
ulcers by the time I was 21. I was just riddled with anxiety being here. And, 90% of that was because of my family. They were just scary, out of control people. And, you carry those things. I work with a lot of people who have trauma, and you carry those markers with you.
Yeah,
The inner
that's
kid
right.
part of us, is still locked
Hmm.
into those experiences. And, that's part of what we need to heal is those different aspects of ourselves and
Do you
integrate them.
think, yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Diane, because you've went, like I only went to the black void, um, and you went past that. I'm wondering, do you think that's the way to where we're going to end up when our time comes? Like, do you think we're going to go to go that route, stop, talk to them and go, or do you think we're just going to go boom? I'm just curious what you think.
I don't think we're going to go through that. I think we're just going to go
Go
home,
wherever, yeah.
wherever that is, go back
They're the
to source.
gatekeepers.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of us, for the most part, were meant to stay. I think
Mm,
we were meant to be educated to something other than what we knew and to bring that back. I think, at least for me, I know that I came back with this overwhelming desire to help people not be afraid of death and dying. And I
me
think a
too.
lot of us have that same
Yeah.
feeling. And I think
Yeah.
that's why we go and have these
Hmm.
experiences so that we can come back and say, it's not what you think it is. I've thought all these years, how silly it is that we don't celebrate death the way we celebrate birth. It's just as important.
Oh,
And
I agree.
it's a
Yeah.
wonderful next step in our evolution. It's not the finality. It's not the end of anything. It's the continuation of our growth and our experiences and our life. We don't lose ourselves in dying. We lose the physicality, yes.
Yeah, but we're
But
made to believe we're
I know.
losing out. Poor, like I just had this conversation this morning, actually, with my mother because her mother-in-law is passing of cancer. And I tried to explain to her, but I mean, some people just don't get it. But I did tell her, like, she's not going. Her body's dying. She is still
She's
going,
being
she is
set
still
free.
her.
She's being
Exactly what I
set
said.
free. Yeah.
And she's
Well,
like, I just don't know about that. And I'm like, oh, some people just won't ever get it, but that's okay too. I'm not saying everybody needs to
oh,
understand
absolutely.
and get it, but that I do agree. And I wish that I was taught about death differently, because I know there are some cultures that teach completely that this is a celebration and they're happy when their loved one gets to go. They're jealous.
Yeah, it's an honoring
Like,
of their
it's totally,
continuation. And
yeah.
and the fact that we've graduated from Earth School, because let's face it, this is no picnic here. It's hard.
Oh,
No matter
oh
how
yeah.
good your life is, there are always
Yeah.
parts of it that are painfully hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is our own undoing.
Yeah.
I don't believe God or the universe set it up that way. I think it was a place where we came to be curious and try on and grow and experience and have these wonderful things, in our lives that uplift us and educate us and whatnot. And
I think we need to, though, remember who we are at some point in life,
oh gosh, yes.
right? And I think
Yes.
sometimes when we're off the path of getting to that way, something happens, whether it be a
Well, it did for
near-death
me.
experience, and for I as well. But I know, well, that's another thing I've been tracking is I've been noticing these things about people, just basically around me when something happens, and then what happens after.
How do they
That's what
process
I've
it
been
or
watching.
perceive it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then
Well, it's
how
the
do they
answer.
change as a person? And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, and then also age. So once you get a little bit older, people start kind of going back inward, I've noticed as well. You're younger, you're full of fire, and you're not scared of nothing, right? Taking corners on two wheels and stuff like that. But
I
you start
remember
getting
that.
older and you're like, yeah, right, I love that. No fear at all. But then you
Right.
get older and you're like, okay, I can't, I need to slow down a bit, you know. I need to be
Well,
cautious.
you understand that things can happen.
That's right.
And do we choose to have things happen or do we not? When we're kids, we're carefree. We're invincible.
Mhm. God, that was a good feeling.
I know.
Mm.
But uh I think as now I'm almost 30 years older than you are. So in where I am in life is that childhood innocence is really sweet for me right now. Not reliving mine, but creating that feeling where I am right now. I mean, I love the work that I do, and I love the people that I work with, and sometimes my work can be kind of heavy. And so to be able to have that childlike innocence in things that I experience in my everyday is really important for me because it balances out things. And, I have a great appreciation for life and for the gifts that come my way. And I know Spirit is always, you know, flowing things my way. And I know in part because I have lined up with receiving and knowing I deserve and knowing it's my birthright and
Mm,
all of that.
that's right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
there was a long time where there were blocks, lots of
Yeah.
blocks. And I had to learn what that was telling me, which I still am learning and still working on because I know we're in a process and we're never going to get it all done. We're never going to get it all right. And nobody needs us to. The universe doesn't care what we choose.
Yeah.
There's no judgment on us at all. And I just trying to find the miracles and the playfulness and the joyfulness every day as much as I can, because that's what rows my boat and keeps me here and keeps me wanting to be here and trusting that this isn't just a painful place. It's a playful place. It's
It
a
can
magical
be, yeah.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's also what we make it. You can
Well, that's
create
the
that. You're
point.
the creator of your own, story.
That's the point. It's what
Yeah.
we choose to believe and create for ourselves. And I choose to believe that, we all need connection
Mhm.
and to be a part of that. I mean, I love connecting with people, even if it's in the grocery store.
Mhm.
I will intuitively know or say or do something because it's going to uplift that person who in that moment I'm reading needs it. And I want to do that because that makes me happy to be able to do that. That's my little bit of magic that I can create. And,
Mm.
when
That's very
we,
kind. Mhm.
well, I think
That's
I was
kind.
wired to be of service, even as
Yeah.
a kid, and I had to learn boundaries because for a long time I gave myself away and I would process people's pain through my body,
Oh,
as an empath and a sensitive. And I had to stop doing that. And I teach my clients to stop doing that. Boundaries are really important.
oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
we are not responsible for everybody else's pain and suffering. We don't have the power to change it for them. We only have the
That's
power to
right.
change for ourselves
Yeah.
and to stay in our own lane, you know? I don't take on the world and what's going on. I stay in my own lane and create the most wonderful things I can in my lane. And hopefully
Mhm.
that, filters out a little bit energetically. But I don't go out there to see what's happening because it's not mine to deal with.
Yeah. Right?
Yep.
Diane, when after you came back from your NDE and after healing, what happened then? Did you hear or did you have any gifts you came back with, or did you hear spirit or anybody talking besides all the talking? Did you have like one isolated maybe spirit guide or anything like that happen to you or
Um,
come to you?
it took a while for me to hone in on connection to something bigger than me,
Mhm.
to understand what was happening to me. From I went to it. There was a group in LA called the Messengers of Light, and I was part of the group. You had to be tested to see if you were right for the group or not right for the group. And I was fascinated by this because I thought it's all spiritual play. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't play much when I was a kid because, it was too heavy and scary. So I thought, now I get to play. This is really cool. I get to play.
Mhm.
And I tested these different tests that they were doing from psychometry to, clairvoyance to whatever, all the clairs and above. And I had no idea, especially the psychometry, because I knew what I knew kind of stuff, but psychometry
Mhm.
was something I'd never heard of and never experienced. And that was a journey for me. Was I was given something. It was an article. It was a wedding band.
Mm.
And I was to write whatever information I got about it. And it took me on this journey. And I'd never been on a vision journey before. And I saw the person that it belonged to, and I saw that the person had been murdered, and I saw the wooden casket, because this is
Yeah.
like in the 1800s or something, in the sort of west of the United States.
Mhm.
And it very sort of not countrified, but more Western town and people, their dress and all that stuff. And I thought, I'm losing my mind. This makes no sense to me. Anyway, I wrote the story that I got and I handed it to the woman who was doing this testing, Fatima, and she said, you got it all perfectly correct. And I thought, oh, this is so weird. This is so weird, but how much fun. So that's how that started. And I stayed with the Messengers for a couple of years until they disbanded and went in different places in the world. And she was from Brazil and didn't speak English and had a translator who ended up
Okay.
becoming her husband, who was from New York, who was also Brazilian, of course. And she would teach in Brazilian. She would in Portuguese, excuse me, and he would translate in English. But as a group, we never watched him, and he was sitting next to her. We always focused on her, like his voice was coming out of her mouth. It was
Wow.
very interesting.
Wow. That sounds kind of beautiful.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned to do some personality work with her, and it was wonderful. I mean, they had a whole group of things that they did, and they had healings and whatnot, and it was a privilege to be a part of that.
I bet.
Yeah,
I would love that. Absolutely would love that. You're very fortunate.
I know.
Mm-hmm. Very fortunate. Diane, what do you think sorry, what do you think um, you wish everyone understood about the process of NDEs or even coming back? What is one thing you wish they would know about it?
Well, for me, it was a gift. It changed my life. It totally changed my thinking. Now, I've had a lot of people say to me, having an NDE, you're so lucky, blah, 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 blah. I wish that would happen to me. It's almost like they think it's a magic wand that just shifts everything. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, don't ask for things that you don't quite understand because it's not for the faint of heart.
Mm-hmm.
It took me years to manage the awareness that I had died in my early 30s and that I'd had this experience, this supernatural experience, and that I came back to my regular mundane life. And how do you fit all of that into that? And I said, even though I had the gift of the experience and the awareness, I still had to do my work. I
Yeah.
still had to do my psychological work on myself. This is not a cure-all. It doesn't wipe the slate clean. You still have to do what you have to do to right yourself and be the best version you can be of yourself. And not
Without any
everybody,
computer or anything. It was
exactly.
harder for you than it would
Well,
be for someone now.
it was different.
Mm-hmm.
I had people that I interacted with. I had people who took me on journeys as opposed to books and the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in a way, for me, it was the way I needed to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, be happy. I would say to people, find a way to be happy within yourself. Learn to love and appreciate yourself because you are a gift on the planet. And the sooner you own it and know how to operate in that, the better it'll be for you and for everybody else.
No. So then if we talk about your spirit, you are led by spirit guides,
Yeah.
correct?
Well, I work directly with the creator of all that is when I'm working with my
Right.
clients.
Could you tell us a
Um,
little bit about that?
I learned a long time ago how to do vibrational healing, clearings and healing using the installation of codes and breath. And I
Mm,
call on the creator of all that is to guide the process for me. I also am a dowser. I dowse with my hands, muscle testing kind of stuff. And so I, you know, uh, one of my teachers in the vibrational work said to me, you don't have to be small in this process. Just go directly to God. And I thought, are you kidding? And I've learned through the years that Yes, you can. And yes, I do. And I talk to God all the time. It's not about, I do have guardian angels. I do have mentors, masters. We all do. And I know they're all working on my behalf. But when I'm into the nitty gritty, like part of the work that I do now in the last couple of years as an addition is I'm doing possession removal and spirit removal.
Hmm.
And I used to have this wonderful man who would do that for me. And he passed away, and I ended up stepping in and doing the work. Didn't know that was coming, but it's interesting to know that we evolve and grow you know, and so when I'm doing that specifically, I call on the creator of all that is directly, because I have to do it in absentia so that the possession doesn't come to me or the spirit doesn't come to me. And I'm
Hmm.
asking for the big guns. I'm not playing small because it's not a small thing to play with. So I want all the help I can get.
I love that. So, what is maybe one practical way that you integrate your spiritual insights into your everyday, ordinary life? But actually, before that, I just thought the gifts that you currently have, are those directly from having the NDE?
Oh, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Now, I think I was intuitive. I think I came in as a sensitive and an empath, but all of that grew exponentially. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know I could hear. I hear on my right side right here. And it's a knowing. You and I talked about that. It's not necessarily a voice, although I do hear a voice at times. But it's a knowing, and it's like the information comes here, and then I just know it in my body.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not an easy thing to explain. You either feel it or you don't, and
Yeah.
I do. And I read people in different ways. I have clients around the world, so of course I'm not with them. I don't need to be with anybody. I don't even need to see anybody to know the information. And I don't understand how it all works, and I don't need to. I'm just in gratitude that I get to do it. I get to
Absolutely.
play on a spiritual level I didn't know was possible. And I feel like a kid every day. I'm like so excited that I get to have these sessions with people where I'm connected to them on the deepest of levels. And that's something that I have craved my whole life is deep connection. And the people who come to me are so generous with themselves and allowing themselves to show up so that I can work with them and have that sense of connection. And I deeply appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's what rose my boat big time.
Yeah, I hear that word for you often through our conversation as I get to play. That's something that means a lot to you.
It does, because it
Mhm.
was so not available for most of
Mhm.
all of my childhood and most of my adulthood. It's only in the last 20 years, I think, that I've really realized it's all supposed to be play. We take all of this way too seriously, and we don't need to. You know, the money thing, which I've had my issues with on and off because somehow my feeling about money changed having had a near-death experience.
Mind you.
And then I've had
Mhm.
to come back around about it, knowing that we need it. Let's figure it out and how to
Yeah.
be friends with it. So, it's odd being me. And I
Mm.
know that, and
I
as
think it
I say to
sounds
my,
great being you.
well, it is, but I mean, to
Yeah.
the regular people who aren't awake and
Mhm.
aware, they look at me and they go, oh my God, this
Mhm.
woman's crazy. But I'm learning that it's okay to have a freak flag and fly it.
Yeah. I love that saying. I absolutely, when you said that to me earlier, I just loved it so much. I
But it's
love
true. We have
that.
to give ourselves permission, because when we
Yeah.
do that, then it gives everybody else around us permission. It's like I,
Yes.
I, I work with people about learning to love themselves. And if they have children, I say to them, just because you loved your kids doesn't mean they're going to love themselves.
That's right.
If they can see you reclaiming yourself and learning to love yourself, that will educate them far more.
Yeah. That brings up something, and I've said this before to, I think, another guest, but when you bring up the kids, I had two children young, so I was a single mother. But my eldest son, who is 34 now, he said to me about a couple of months ago, the happiest he's seen me was when we were flat broke.
Interesting.
I said to him, "Really?" He says, "Mom, you were the happiest person I knew." And then I actually thought back on that, and I thought, yeah, I just really didn't care. As long as we had food and a roof over our head, that's all I actually cared about. And my boys we were alone, so I sat with them and talked to them a lot, so we're talkers. My children are very much in tune with talking. Everyone thinks they're very sensitive, but they're good kids. They're
There's nothing wrong with being sensitive.
and it's good to be communicators too, like
Oh, absolutely. I think it's
excellent
everything.
communicators. And they were told, like, we have to do this together. I can't do it alone. I can't. And I know they were young, and my mom, oh, I can't believe you do that. Well, if I've got to work 3 jobs, then I'm going to need some help, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, he thought I was happiest. And I don't even remember a time when I wasn't not happy, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah, I
nice.
don't. Yeah,
That's nice.
yeah.
So you were a single
I know.
mom and I was a single mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I had 2 boys, 2 years apart. They were my whole world. My first one really changed my life. And I'll tell you, when he came, when I was giving birth, about 25 minutes or so before giving birth to my son Styles, he talked to me. He
Wow.
talked to me. Yeah, he told me he was coming. He told me that not long now, I'm coming. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. And I find that he's my biggest teacher, my greatest
Oh, our
teacher.
children always are.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's my
Yeah.
greatest teacher. When I look at him, um, I think about all the things I've learned from him.
I
I'm
think
very,
my daughter
very
has been my
fortunate,
greatest teacher. Yeah.
right? Isn't it
Yeah,
amazing? It's so
it
amazing.
is.
It's just life to me is amazing. And then you throw a nice near death into it and and you're just like, what?
What else could you ask for, right? That's the
Yeah,
cherry on the
right?
cake of the day. Yeah. I love that. That's a great way of thinking about it.
You know, it's all good. And you know what? We survived all of it. Survived all of it.
Yeah.
That's how strong
And I
we are.
think that's the point, isn't it? It's all
Yeah.
good.
Hmm.
I used to think that life was so scary because it was for me until I had
Hmm.
my near death. And then I realized, well, I'm not afraid of death anymore. So if that's not scary, I have to find a way not to be scared of life either. You
Right?
know,
There's
it's
a
all
lot of
good.
people more afraid to live than die.
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
And, I had an amazing experience recently. A very dear
Hmm.
friend of mine passed away, and I was present at her death. It was an assisted suicide.
Hmm.
And I had never been with anybody at the moment of crossing over. I'd seen the moments later, but not at the moment, and certainly not the leading up to and all of that. And it was so quiet and so gentle. I was almost taken aback.
Hmm.
It was like 1 minute she was talking and laughing, and the next minute she was gone. And I thought, that's the way it needs to be for everybody when they pass, in whatever form they pass. It just needs to be that instant out of the body. And we'd been working on it for a long time
Yeah.
previous. And I think she just skipped right out. And
I do too. Like when I think of that, I don't think we feel much when we pass away. Like,
I
I
think
mean,
it depends.
Like, well, I
I think
think
it dep
some people do. Obviously, they do. We know they do. Like, I've known people, but at some point, I think there comes like a surrendering.
well, that's it.
I
I
think.
remember
I think
when I
someone
was in
surrenders.
Africa, I saw a lion take a gazelle down, and I saw the gazelle go out of
Surrender.
body before the lion hit.
Yeah.
The
See,
gazelle
yeah.
knew it couldn't outrun the lion, and it
Hmm.
just let go, and the lion hit, and the gazelle was already out. The spirit of the
Yeah.
gazelle was already out. And I
Yeah.
thought, that's a good way to understand death. I think
Well, I
for
think that
people who are
happens for
terrified,
us.
yeah,
That's
I do
right.
too.
Yeah.
Except if you're terrified and you're holding on and you're afraid of the judgment that's coming and what's going to happen to you, and you've bought into the religious notion that
Hmm.
you're going to be punished and judged, I think that's very painful for people. And it breaks my heart
Yeah.
because there is no judgment. You and I both know that. There's
Hmm.
absolutely no judgment on the other side. It's only
Do you
unconditional love.
That's right. Do you think that that's all about our inner work, our inner conditioning? So
Oh,
when,
yeah.
say, we pass away and we go over to the other side, or whatever happens to us, do you think it has something to do with our understanding when we're out of body where we end up going?
Yes, absolutely.
I think so
I know
too.
I've had a couple of experiences where I thought I might die from them, um, medical and otherwise. And I thought, okay, let's see.
I wasn't expecting that. That's
You know,
great.
I've been waiting to go for 44, 45 years, whatever it is. And it's like, all right, already I am ready. Come on, give me a, but you know, a shove here. I do not want to live to be in my 90s. I'll be 80 next year. And it's like, okay, it's time. Let's go. While I'm still, you know, cognizant and I can just
Mm,
play all the way out, you know. But I was
yeah,
disappointed when
wow.
I came through it and nothing happened. It was like, damn, I thought I had an opening there. Because I think we do. I think we do have opportunities in our lives where we can exit. And
Yeah.
I guess I said, no, I'm here for the duration.
Hmm. You have exit points. I think so too. I absolutely think that we have exit points. Yeah. In case we want to get out at some point. I don't know, but I know
Well,
that
life,
that was one for me, maybe, maybe, and probably one for you. Well, no, because you were sent back.
yeah,
They weren't letting you.
I didn't have a choice. I
Hmm.
don't believe. But I won't know the answer to that, whether it's because I chose to come back for my daughter or if they sent me back. I don't know which occurred, and I won't know
Hmm.
till I'm on the other side.
And I think that all the people that are actually afraid of death too, aside from the pain that might be actually associated with dying, I think that it's literally going to be like, remember when we were talking, I told you I like just opened my eyes and, oh, well, I'm done finally. I'm glad that went away. And then I was like, well, where am I? I didn't even know. And neither did you. Same type of thing. Like it's almost like you just go, um, like just walk in another door.
Right. Exactly. Without any fear or trepidation.
None.
Yeah.
Zero. So what is it that we're afraid of? It's the pain.
Yeah, in whatever form that comes in. I have this image of people who are terrified and holding on so tight. And I've been
Mm.
around enough seniors in my life
Mm.
to know that and to note that. And they're so terrified of moving forward. And if they understood that if they just let go and go for the ride, it's so sublime, you know,
Yeah.
because part of the work, you know, in helping to remove uh, spirits and whatnot, I will walk them occasionally when there's nobody to come from the other side. I will walk them myself to the other side
Huh.
and, you know, to the opening for them to cross over. And I know I can feel the love on the other side that's just waiting to scoop them up. There's nothing to be afraid of. We are just loved.
Is that like almost like a shared death? Is that what you do, or is this
No,
what,
no,
you're
because they've
just,
already gone through the death kind of thing
oh, I see.
where they've
Okay.
gone out of body and they're in spirit.
Oh, I see.
No,
Okay. Sorry
this is
about
just
that.
helping them continue their journey. Yeah.
Can you tell us a
And
little bit about that? Sorry, I'll let you finish
sure,
there.
no,
Yeah,
that's
I'd love to
fine.
hear about your work.
Well, I'll tell you how a backstory real quick. The gentleman that used to help clear me up, because one of the things I didn't know well was boundaries. Okay.
Mm.
And I would take on client stuff and whatnot and process through my body and all, I had it all backwards. Anyway, so I would occasionally have spirits or a possession, and I would contact him to help me get cleared and cleaned up and removed, unwanted company. And this one, it was close to Christmas. I was really being bothered by something. I wasn't sure quite. It turned out to be a possession, I thought, and I wasn't quite clear, but I knew I needed help, so I contacted him. Anyway, his phone was disconnected, and I thought, well, that's weird. We've known each other a long time, and he would have let me know, and where's he gone, and what's happened, and all of that. And I was kind of dismayed because I didn't know who I could go to help with this. So it turned out, working with a friend of mine who's very psychically connected, that he was the one who was with me. He was the discarnate spirit that was with me.
Oh, wow.
He had an accident in a snowstorm and died. He didn't have his seatbelt on and he went through the windshield and died. And he died on my birthday. And when I connected with him, I found out that he was so angry at himself for not
Mm.
loving himself. This was a big, big
Aw.
healer, brilliant, wonderful, loving man. And he was just devastated that he hadn't taken care of himself. So
Oh.
much so that he couldn't cross over. And I think he came to me knowing that I would talk him off the ledge because I do so much psychological work with my clients, and got him crossed over. And now, when I have something really big, if there's a really nasty, nasty possession of some kind, I will call him in to help,
Oh,
which is
wow.
wonderful. Yeah. So it's
Wow.
gone full circle. I didn't know that kind of stuff could happen. So, and this is only in the last couple of years.
Wow.
And I just trust to do the work, you know,
You're a
Spirit's
healer.
guiding it. And he sometimes comes in and heals it. And, I worked with a little girl. I didn't work with her directly. I worked with her father um, in Asia. And she was 16 and just had this nasty possession with her. And she'd gone really goth with her looks and
Oh.
everything else. And she was part of a culture that, children are very obedient and they always do say the right thing, blah, blah. And everything was 4-letter words with her. And she was
Mm.
scaring everybody, and she scared her father, and he didn't know what to do. And I was able to clear her from here without ever talking to her,
Oh,
which just
wow.
blows my mind.
Wow.
And when I spoke to him after, a couple weeks after, he said, I have my daughter back. And I thought, wow, this stuff is really big. And it's not me. I'm going directly to the creator and calling it in and asking for the help. But that's how much we're supported and loved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not
So
about
he's
my gifts.
you're work doing the work, but he's working through you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the power to do this, but I have the guts to do it. I think that's the thing. I just think I can, and so I do.
And you do. That is
And I do.
that is incredible. No, but it's
You know,
so
for
incredible.
For somebody who was scared to death most of her life,
Yeah.
to be able to do this
Oh,
kind of stuff now and feel really strong and mighty about it, I feel like a spiritual warrior in a lot of ways, and it's very
oh,
empowering.
you are a spiritual warrior. You
Oh, but
are.
but who would have thought,
Mm.
but I'm so grateful to, be in this position.
You return to yourself, your true self, your
Yeah.
true essence.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think
That's
that
a
that
gift
was
in
the
itself,
most, absolutely. Do you think that was the most unexpected thing you learned about yourself from your NDE?
that there was more to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. That was such an awakening for me in a lot of ways. I didn't know what we were capable of. I didn't know what was available. I had this little boxed vision of how life is because both my parents had that, you know. Um, they played big in the world, but they still had, you know, small visions. And I think through trial and error, I just realized, wow, this is a huge platform that we could play on. There's that word again, that it's magical. The universe is magical. I knew that as a child, very pious kid. I
Mm.
think I had a near death when I was a little kid, a drowning, because I've had so many visions of that. But
Mm-hmm.
I realized that we're a direct extension of the God force, not the
That's
Catholic
it. Yeah.
upbringing I had. That was
Mm-hmm.
not the story. But I realized through all these years that we are direct conduit of the God force.
Yeah.
I grew up that we were made in the image and likeness of God. We're so much more than
Yeah.
that. We
You're
are
way
a
more
direct
than that.
conduit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to just avail ourselves of that and try on different things, yeah,
You
we're
know what
here to
just
play.
came to me when you
What?
were talking about your family? And it got me thinking, well, anyways, it just dropped in there, to be honest. Like, um, what are my words for this? Okay, so it seems like you chose those people as your family members. I shouldn't say people. I'm sorry to say that about about your
It's
family. I
fine.
didn't mean to say it like that. So you chose your family for whatever reasons, but it sounds like a really hard lesson to learn, that you got out of them. But then something happens to you that you then reflect back on the family, and then that catapults you into your life and back to who you really are.
Isn't it amazing how it works?
Yes. And
I
so
mean,
this is what I want to get through to other people, is for them to look at these experiences and try to think about that when they're looking at their life and the troubles and this, maybe they could set out on the, well, without the near death, but maybe
yes,
they can
they don't
see
need that.
clearer when they have heard these types of experiences.
Well, if they could allow themselves to understand that they're not victims,
That's
that
right.
their vibratory frequency is what's creating what they're experiencing, because it's a match, it's a mirror, you know?
Yeah.
And if they want to change what they're experiencing, then they have to change how they feel internally about themselves, tell themselves a different story.
I
So
love
many got
that.
hurt in childhood, that perception got created, and they're operating from that perception of I don't matter, I'm not good enough, I'm not loved, I'm not worthy. And none of that is true, and that's not what their parents were trying to say to them. It's what
Mm-hmm.
they perceived was happening. So they have to go
Mm-hmm.
back and clean up that story and understand that, well, for me, my dad was the scariest person I knew when he was
Mine
raging
too.
and
Yeah.
drunk. And what I came to realize in all of my spiritual work is that he loved me enough to play that role so that I could have my soul's growth in this lifetime.
Absolutely. That's what I was trying to. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why. Um,
Yeah.
and and I have such gratitude for him for playing that role because he was the bad guy on every level. And yet I have been told by people throughout the years when I've had readings and whatnot that he's one of my biggest fans, that he's
Oh, I'm
there
sure he
supporting me all
is.
the time. And I love and appreciate that. And we had a very tumultuous relationship. I was born on his birthday.
How dare
And
you?
and well, by cesarean section, my mother did it on purpose. And he didn't want her to have another child because she had a bad heart and he was afraid of losing her. So there was
Oh,
a whole bunch of stuff. And she got pregnant on purpose and didn't tell him until she was 6 months pregnant.
my
My mother gained
goodness.
5 pounds with me. You
Oh
think there
my
was a little
gosh.
fear in the uterus for me?
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So,
Yikes.
we play these amazing roles in each other's lives. And
Mhm.
what we have to understand is that we chose them, they chose us, and they didn't do it to hurt us. They did it to show up for us.
That's
And we
right.
have to start showing up for ourselves and stop blaming
Mhm.
others and
Mhm.
just know that none of that matters. We can choose from this moment to change the whole program. And that's why
100%.
you and I do what we do. It's we don't want people
Yeah.
to be stuck. We don't want them to be afraid. We don't want them to be limited
Yeah.
or hurt and unhappy. There's so many broken hearts out there.
Well, there it's going to take all kinds of us, right, Diane? It's going to take all all of us are so different that are out there helping. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter when you started, it's a matter that, you did start.
That you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that it's all in divine timing, but you need people out there, boots on the ground, so that people can relate to certain people.
Yeah.
And okay, I relate with him, I'm going to relate with her, but we're
Right.
all
You find your
doing,
pack.
that's
Yeah.
right. We are all doing the same work, just
Exactly.
different, right? We're
Right.
bringing the people because I don't like to see people hurting. I hate that. I get
Yeah.
goosebumps when I say I really don't like seeing people hurting. I don't ever want people to hurt. I wish that life was a little bit better, but then we wouldn't be learning, would we?
Now, one thing that I keep hearing people say is, why doesn't God stop the hurting?
Yeah,
And
I
I
hear
have to
that too.
remind them that we're in a free will state and God has
That's
nothing to
right.
do with it. It's what we're
That's right.
creating for ourselves.
That's right.
God sits on the sidelines with a broken heart watching us go through it.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. We all have choices. We could as a victim, we could sit and say life sucks. I relate back to what my son said. I didn't sit there and think, "Oh, I'm just a broke joke, young mom, this, that," I knew people looked at me funny. I know that. I didn't care.
Good for you. You had more
I
sense of
didn't
yourself
care.
than I did at that
Oh,
age.
I've had to though. Just a little bit different dynamics, family dynamics that made me have to. So takes all kinds of us, but yeah, no. I didn't care. I really didn't. I didn't feel like I still don't feel like that if you want to know the truth. I really don't.
Good for
I
you.
No, my husband always asks me, like, "I don't get it." And I just don't think about things like that. I can't. I don't want to. And I was raised in a very abusive, traumatic upbringing. Lots of abuse in every way. And I think I think in the beginning it was my coping mechanism so I could just turn it off and I could turn on a different me or something. Um, but now I
Well,
know this
we
is me.
compartmentalize because we have to
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
we're in a place where we can deal with it.
Yeah. But I've
Yeah.
never in my life felt insecure of life.
How
No, I
lovely.
can
I don't
do
I don't
anything
understand that.
you know what? I don't even understand it. And I'm doing it. It's odd. I think everything I do, I can do it. That's just but my mom was
Oh,
like that.
teach the rest of us, honey. Teach the rest of us. We
Oh,
all
I
need to know
can't.
that.
I don't know how I've gotten there. I have just always been like that. I think it was how I was raised maybe. I'm an empath. I feel for people. I'll give you the shirt off my back if I need to. But it never came. I would rather basically I'd rather have you food than me have food. That's the kind of person I am.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And I'm happy like that. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
I want everybody to be happy, but I want everybody's vibration to raise, and I want us to get to a good place in all of our lives. And I
Yeah.
think we're headed there. I really do.
I think so too. I think so
Mhm.
too. That's why there's so many NDEs, so many people working to uplift and support and, heal hearts and
Isn't it
minds.
interesting the staggering effect of it all? Um,
I love it.
I always say staggering, but I probably should say waves of consciousness awakening, because for a while you'll see a bunch and then you'll see them keep going. And it's really interesting to see. And it gives, well, as over the years watching has been giving me so much hope,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yes. Why
Do
would we have
you?
anything but hope?
Exactly. Do you feel that humanity is awakening?
Well, it's being forced into it,
I
don't you
think
think?
so too.
I
I
mean,
do
talk
too.
it. They didn't have to go through the cosmic 2x4 of a near death. They're
Yeah.
getting everything that's happening on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree.
I think
I
we got
can't
it the
believe.
easy way compared
Yeah.
to what people are experiencing because we at least know we're safe. It's all okay.
Yeah.
We may not know what it's going to look like and how it's going to
Mm.
resolve itself, but we know it's going to be okay because love always wins. But
Always.
the rest of the
Always.
the people who maybe aren't awake and aware or haven't had, something to show them a different way, um, this is going to be terrorizing on so many levels.
Yeah. I think so too. And that's what we're all here for.
Yep, we signed up for it.
I truly believe we're in the greatest time to be alive. I know to some that
Yeah.
sounds so strange, but that's truly what I feel inside.
Oh, I agree. I think we're
Hmm.
here to hold the vibration while the transformation occurs.
Yeah. See, I did a talk yesterday that said, we've got to do this together. We need to build the bridge, you know, collaborate and build a bridge so that nobody crosses alone, is how I put it. And ever
I
since I
like
was
that.
thinking about that, because that's how I honestly feel. That means you,
I agree with
me,
you.
even though I'm brand new, but every one of us that are out there doing this work, we're building the bridge. That's what I feel, right? We're building
Good
the
for
bridge,
us. Good for
right?
us
Oh, I got
all. Yeah.
goosebumps. I know. And then maybe I'm saying this next month, somebody else is going to wake up and they're going to start adding to the bridge. And then it's going to be, that's what I feel.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know why, but that's how I see it. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. And we're trusting. And that's the thing that
Mm,
we need to educate people in is even if you don't understand it, you know, trust it anyway. Trust the
yes.
goodness is here. Trust that love is all that matters. The light and love, it's everything. And don't buy into the stories
Yeah,
or the
that's true.
experiences of other things. It's
Mhm.
not the reality.
Oh, Diane, I could go on and on with you. You are such a lovely human being. Oh my goodness. You are
Thank
so
you, MJ.
relatable. Oh, you're so relatable. Just
I
beautiful.
appreciate that.
Maybe when we were like doing the planning of our pre-birth plan, we were up there saying, okay, let's meet for coffee just one time when we're down here, or meet for a meeting one time while we're down here. That's fun to think about,
Sounds perfect. Yes, it is.
right?
Yes, it
Right.
is.
I have one last question. If you could offer one piece of advice to anyone who is going through a loss of a loved one, what would you say to them?
Please know that they're not lost to you. The
Hmm.
veil is so thin. You can communicate with them. They can hear you. At some point, you will probably have dreams or some kind of communication from them if you get quiet enough and pay attention. And know that the love that you have with them and for them is always there with you. And anytime you think of them, their spirit comes.
Hmm.
So you're not alone.
That's
They're just
beautiful.
in a different place in time, but they're still here. They're still here.
Mm.
We are everlasting, kind of like the Energizer Bunny. We are everlasting, you know?
I love that.
We just keep going and going and going until we get it.
That's excellent. That is so excellent. Diane, can we talk a little bit about your offerings, services, books, and all that? Could you tell the audience about any of that you have?
I would love to. At this time, I'm in the middle of writing my book, so
Huh?
that is to come. And the working title is Becoming. And I do a 60-minute session, and I work on Zoom. And from time to time, I have packages, that I offer people, and would love to offer your followers discount on my 2-package
Oh,
session.
oh, that's
Um,
wonderful. I didn't know.
50
Thank you.
$50 off for your followers, and they can find me at guidingyourspirit.com and mention your show.
Mhm. We will have all the links and information in the link below. Definitely.
Wonderful.
So you're working on your book,
I
and
am.
that won't be out. I don't know why. It was because you know what? When you talk to everybody, they always have a book.
Well,
There's
I've been
always a book,
sitting
right?
on this a long time, and it's just time.
Yeah.
And I know that. I've
I
just been
think that's a
dragging my
nice
heels.
gesture too to leave behind for family as well. I don't know what you think about this, but I'm really liking the fact that people are online and they're telling their story. It's like a digital legacy
Oh,
that
yeah.
will go on and on and on. And family from 30 years from now will be able to look back and see and listen and hear what you went through, how you navigated through it. I just think it's an excellent. I don't know.
Well,
That's what I think of.
I wish I had had that with my family, because my
Mm.
dad died when I was 22. My mom died when I was 32.
No.
And I really didn't have their history and their thoughts about what it was like for them and what they overcame and what they wanted to pass on and all of that. They never shared any of that.
Yeah,
So I
neither did
think
mine.
anytime people share themselves and their story, I'm fascinated by biographies. They're my favorite
Mm.
form of reading because people
Yeah.
fascinate me. And
Uh-huh.
I want to know how did you get to be you, and
Uh-huh.
where have you been and how has all this impacted you? I love that. I think it's really important that people's lives inform us.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's
Well,
great.
not only that, but it also shows people they're not alone out there in the world.
Exactly.
They're
And
not
that
alone.
you're not the
Hmm.
only one who's going through this
That's
particular
right.
thing, whatever this thing is. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
souls have gone through this, and they got through it and they're okay and blah, blah, blah. And you're going to be okay too. And don't
Right?
feel alone, because there's a
Oh,
whole group of people supporting you.
I love that so much. I really like you, Diane. I am so
Oh, honey, I
pleased
like
that
you
you
too.
came
This
on
is
and met with
wonderful.
me today. I love this conversation. I
Me
didn't
too.
really ask any of the questions I planned to, but I just really sometimes like to just have a conversation. Just sometimes it feels more like just a conversation instead of scripted or anything like that, you know? You're a
Well,
great
you've
lady
made
though.
you've made this very easy, and I so
Oh,
appreciate that.
oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I still think that people will learn a lot from this, right?
They'll get what they
Okay,
need, whatever that is. We have
absolutely.
to trust that we
That's
did what we
right.
were supposed to do by coming together.
That's right. Right? That's exactly the way I think too. Diane, I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your journey and wisdom and the light you bring back from the other side. Your willingness to be vulnerable and to guide others on their spiritual path is a true gift to this world. And I truly believe that. And to everyone tuning in, Thank you for joining us today. We hope this story inspires you to look beyond the ordinary, embrace your own journey, and remain open to life's mysteries. And until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep returning to the truth within you.